Hey everyone, something not so new today for everyone else, but new to me. This is a Tailstock DRO for my Mini-Lathe. And as always with my videos, I'm going to show you the parts here at the start. We're going to take them to the lathe, put it all together, see how it works. And then after that, if you stick around, you can watch the machining clips, listen to some music. But the main content is right here at the start. All right, let's get on with it. There's a lot of variations of this on YouTube. They're basically all the same in the end. Either a purpose-built unit like this or a digital calipers where you've cut the head off, plus some kind of collar and an extension, and then some kind of bracket to hold this unit on top of the tailstock or on the side. Now, most of the videos on my channel are of unique things that I've come up with by myself and that you won't see anywhere else, but in this case, this is pretty standard fare. I do like to make things in a simple, elegant manner, and I did try that at first by taking a piece of angle bracket and then just bending it upwards so that this unit would sit on an angle, and I just stopped bending when it was at the angle that I wanted. Very simple, didn't have to machine anything, so that was nice and straightforward. I flattened one side, the top side, to hold this, and on this side I left that little bit of a curve because it sort of looks quite nice. Why not? And so that was quite nice. I'm happy with that. But when it came to this part, things became a little bit more complicated. So most people will try and make this as a single unit. They'll try something on a rotary table or cut something out with a bandsaw by hand or just file it. I decided I would make it in two parts because it's only logical. You can make this very easily on a lathe. It's round. And this is square. You can make it very easily on a mill. And then I just had to screw them together. So that made a lot of sense to me. The other thing I've done different from the other videos I watched is that I put a flange on the front of this unit here, and that lets me slide it onto the tailstock, and it always ends up in exactly the same spot and always dead square. Most people just make a collar, they slide it onto the tailstock and fasten it up wherever. And so that was quite fiddly, but very happy with the result. Came out very well. I also modified some of the screws here because they had to be small and I didn't really want big heads on them. So what I've done here is I've taken what was a round head screw with a hex fitting there, and I turned them down and they sit nicely in there. Got two of those. I made another one for this here, for the clamp, so that sits very nicely in there. Things that didn't go so well were cutting the stainless steel. This is hardened stainless steel and a lot harder to drill than I thought it would be. I lost quite a few drill bits trying to make this hole, and in the end a diamond-tipped bit on a Dremel helped me clean that up. But if I did this again, I wouldn't drill a hole in there. I would do something like this. You see how this has got these little horns? I would do that same sort of thing on the end of this piece. I'd cut a slot down the middle. I'd put a screw across the gap. Then I'd be able to simply lay that into the channel and tighten it up wherever it's right. I'd do something like that. Cutting the steel on the other end was a lot easier. The 4x6 bandsaw did a good job of that. And lastly, the only fault in this whole thing was that the parallel that I was using to hold this up while I forcefully drilled this caused a ding to appear in the plastic here. So it doesn't stop it working, it's just a little bit irritating. Alright, so those are all the bits and pieces. Let's go over to the lathe and put it all together. Now, you may know I don't like drilling into my mill, because that's still new and under warranty, but my lathe is another matter, and I don't mind modifying this and drilling into it. Now, most people will buy a set of cheap digital calipers and then modify those by cutting the head off and doing a whole lot of mods to it. I didn't want to do that. I bought the unit that's purpose-built for this, meaning it has a scale, but there's no caliper head on it. All you have to do is cut it to length and you're done. Now, where you put this thing on your tailstock really does matter. You'll see people mount them there. You can't see it. You see people mount them there. Also not great for looking at it. The obvious thing is to get it on an angle here so you can see it. But another consideration is you need to allow for the maximum extension here to go out the back. So however far it goes out the front, it's going to go that same amount out the back. And in this case, it's 60 millimeters. See there. So if I mounted it back there, well, it would be in the way of the handle. I couldn't do it. So it really has to be up here. And if I do that, then it only goes that far out the back, which is really perfect. The other consideration is you want to be able to hold on to your tailstock here. That's where you grab it. And so you don't want something in the way there, for example, on the side. Again, up on top and at the front is best. And putting it up on an angle is a bit of a no-brainer. You can see it better, you get the maximum amount of extension out the back, and it gets it away from this lever, which on my lathe is quite close to this side of the tailstock. And the next thing was how it's going to be fastened. So often people will make a triangular block and bolt it to the top there. I decided to make this piece out of an angle and bolt it to the front. The nice thing there was that I could still change the angle if I needed to. I could tweak it one way or the other. And that was really easy to make. There was like no machining involved. Just cut it off and then put the holes in it. So normally you use this scale that's etched into the tailstock here against this edge of the tailstock. Well, if I was going to put something in front of it, I wouldn't be able to see that so well. And I thought, well, what if I could use this scale on top as that scale, aligned in exactly the same position? So if my battery's not there or whatever other reason, if I just want to look at it quickly without turning it on and zeroing it, I can just look at that scale. And it's actually much more legible than the scale there, which is already half worn off. All right, so let's put all these bits together. I'll start with this piece here. Put that on the end. Now, as I mentioned, I made these little screws, took the heads off them, and they fit into these counterbore holes, which I counterbored with an end mill. Very good. I actually turned these as a unit, bolted them all together, and then turned both sides down, assembled like that, just so I'd get a nice finish on both sides. And the other little tiny screw I made is this one. And this is our clamp. I decided to put this down here for easy access, so I can just get to it from the front. And this is quite a tight fit. Because I put that flange on the front, all I have to do is push it on till it hits home. Now we'll tighten it up afterwards. Now this unit has 4 holes in it, and that's another reason to get one of these units, which is ready-made to be mounted like this. I should point out, you could actually stick this on with double-sided foam tape. That would actually work. But then to take it off again, you'd be making a mess, of course. I don't need to use all 4 of these holes. I'm just judging the alignment there because I made it all to be square. This has not been assembled and tested, I should say. I made it all, and this is now the assembly. I haven't even pulled out the battery thing, so if this doesn't work, I'll be disappointed. All right, there we go. Oh, and I'll also point out here, these tailstocks, they've got a guide sort of a screw down underneath here in a slot so that the tailstock stays in one orientation as it goes in and out. But that always has slop in it. And that slop is magnified by the length of this, of course. And so I made a new screw for this one that was a lot tighter and only has the tiniest amount of slop in it. There needs to be enough slack in this piece here so that it could move back and forth, and that's how much I've got. It's also worth pointing out, and I don't think a lot of the other video makers know this, there's a couple of screws on the back here, little tiny ones. They screw down onto a copper shim that pushes on the side of the scale here, and you use those for adjusting the friction. Obviously in this setup, you don't need friction on it, so you can slacken those off, but also it gives you a tiny bit of play. So if you need that bit of play, you can just slack off those screws a tiny bit and let this move a little bit back and forth. So let me line this up. There, see, now there it's in alignment. And at that point, we're going to put the screw in. Now my screw again here is modified. I've taken a little bit off the outer edge because I wanted quite a sizable screw in there. It's an M4, the head was quite large, but I didn't take into account that when I run it all the way back here, as far as it needs to go to pop the taper out, this head actually hits the edge of the housing, so I just took it back a bit. Right, so there's 2 things to align here, of course. That's the 0. There we go. It's distorting the plastic a little bit under there. I think, as I've already said, if I did this again, I would make a clamp for this rather than use a screw. Well, let's just see how this goes. Obviously, it's fine at that end. At this end is where it all sort of tightens up and where your tolerances really matter. Okay, well, let's tighten up the bit underneath as well. That needs almost nothing because it was such a tight fit. So here we go. Final step, let's pull this thing out, see if it works. Doesn't work. Right, there we go. It works. Very nice. And I can get to the block here. Great stuff. Let's pop it off. Let's have a look at it. Well, there we go. That's my Tailstock DRO. If you like anything you see in this video, give me a like, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment, let me know how I'm doing. And if you stick around now after this bit, I'll put in all the music and machining clips like I usually do. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. I finally purchased myself one of these scales here, which I'm going to use as a Tailstock DRO. So, now I could just bend it out like that, but that would put the bends anywhere along there. So really, what can I put under there that's not going to kill me and isn't going to destroy the piece? I feel like I want to drive something in there that's got an edge, like a wide chisel, you can imagine, or a knife blade. Oh, how about my old diving knife? What about that? That's not bad. Shall we try that? Yeah. Good bend. Easy. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. If I want to take that edge off, then I can go lower. That's, oops, there. I'd only be taking that little bit off. So there we go. This worked perfectly. Come out there, get a bit more meat there or there. That's not bad. Right there. This one. I might need my vice jaw saver on the other side. 39.8. Yeah, 39.8. M4 07. Does that fit in here? Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Do that. There's the mark. Good, like that. $20mm and 40mm. 20 and 40. All right, that's fine. So M3s. And this, and so in here, this little copper piece covers these two adjustment screws. And now we can line up those holes, nice and easy. Hopefully, let's try. That's hole number 1, and then the other holes are 10mm, 30mm, and but they aren't. Ha! That little guide is wrong, naughty thing. It's 35 between those two. 8, 28. Let's just try this there with a couple of screws. Well, that's going to be strong. Just going to cut them all off on that side. Oh, I could just run a mill along or something and just go along there, front to back maybe. Maybe something like that. Alright, there it is before paintwork. So we're going to cut a piece of rod of some sort, aluminium. Here we go. I'm going to cut this thing down. I've had this a long time. definitely use power feed for this. Cut the little ring off. Look how that turned out. Perfect ring. Very nice. Okay. Four. Let's use that one. Yep. It is nice. I need to get it down to 16 in that direction. So what do I use to cut it off? Do I saw it off? Do I mill it off? No gimmicks on my channel. That's the snugger size. So that's now flat against that surface. And then I'm going to put another one on and hold that in place. Like that. It's flat in there. Better too far than not, because then I can shorten the screws. Hit the quill stop just like that. Okay, that's fine. And the other side is counterbored with that mill. So next, let's turn down some of these screws to 4 millimeters. .400 398. That's very close. Couldn't have made that any tighter. It lines up so perfectly. Jeez, I did that right. Actually, that movement is much bigger out here, isn't it? I'm not going to get that much movement unless I took out that copper strip, but I don't think I want to. I think I'll make a new screw so that it hasn't got that much play in it. I think that one there is the right size. Well, it's a fraction of a millimeter at this, all the way up here. That's fine. Very good. Okay, the last step here is to redo this surface. Well, that's gone. Let's sharpen that. Now, if you're wondering why I pack things up like this, it's things I don't use very often, and although it takes 30 seconds to unpack it, it's ultimately easier to store and handle if it is packed up. A lot easier. It puts a relief on the back so that less of that angled surface is touching your workpiece. There we go. That's tidy. Alright, there we go. That's everything done in this video. You've obviously already seen the assembly and the demonstration and all that. So give me a like, subscribe, comment, share the video, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.